What is conflict of interest? A conflict of interest happens when a substance or person gets to be untrustworthy scenes of clash between individual or self-serving interface and proficient obligations or duties. Such a struggle happens when a company or individual corporates a vested interest, such as cash, status, informations, connections, or reputation. Some examples of a conflict of interest could be representing a family member in court, starting a business that competes with your full-time employer, advising a client to invest in a company owned by your spouse, hiring a unqualified relative or friends. A conflict of interest occurs when a person's or entity's vested interests raise a question of whether their actions, judgment, and or decision making can be unbiased. In business, a conflict of interest arises when a person chooses personal gain over duties to their employer or to an organization in which they are a stakeholder or exploit their position for personal gain in some way. Conflicts of interest often have legal ramifications.
Hello, I am Irish Lian Delgado. I will explain the impacts in workplace conflicts of interest. First, lowered office morale. When employees are aware of certain workplace conflict of interest, this can lower their overall morale and productivity. Rather than rewarding employees based on personal situations, managers need to reward their hard work and abilities by focusing on what an employee can do for the company rather than for yourself. You can create a more equal work environment. Next, poor company reputation. If news of a conflict of interest gets out, this can majorly impact your brand's reputation. In order to create a positive reputation, managers and business leaders need to implement processes to encourage ethical decisions and trustworthiness. Third, business loses. Instead of thinking about the betterment of the company, employees who partake in conflict of interest are only looking to benefit themselves by coming up with solutions for this issue in the workplace. The company will typically do better. And for the last, rise in office politics. When getting ahead at your workplace means having the right personal connections. Employees may begin to focus more on building these alliances than their actual jobs. That's why it's so important to make unbiased decisions, offering your team fair opportunities.
In addition to the information and introduction discussed earlier on conflict of interest, we should be also cautious and aware that there are other more typical types of conflict of interest. The first one of which is self-dealing. Self-dealing occurs when a person in a financial position at a corporation puts their own interest ahead of the corporation objective by taking advantage of their access to money or knowledge of the company finances. Here, individuals can opt to be impartial and behave as they would without the knowledge they have to avoid this conflict of interest. Next, we have nepotism. When someone recruits, promotes, or otherwise gives a family member or a close friend preferential treatment at work, this is called nepotism. Because the relative or friend may gain benefits from their position that may not be eligible for, nepotism creates a conflict of interest. Employees and managers always have a choice to disclose the connection and decline to participate in the recruiting or promotion process for that person or function to prevent this from happening. Third, we have gift issuance. Another conflict of interest is gift issuance, which happens when an employee of a firm accepts gifts from customer, vendor, or any individual with whom they do business. Even though it might be straightforward trade, most companies have regulations that forbid it. So there is no doubt about how professional the connection is. In this case, it is better to thank the customer but decline the present since a vendor or a client that gives a gift will only become a conflict of interest if the employee accepts it. Insider trading. Insider trading is when an individual with complete control over confidential information trades it in order to benefit themselves or people they know. In the financial sector, conflicts like this are pretty prevalent. Insider trading can be avoided by continuing to behave morally and impartially or simply leaving the position if there is a strong temptation to act unethically. But aside from this type of conflicts, have you ever considered that a conflict of interest might somehow result in something good? I understand that the term conflict alone conjures up negative associations, especially when coupled with the word interest. But I want to point out that not all conflict is negative. We may draw attention or connection between positive conflict and conflict of interest because if we are aware of them, we may act appropriately or solve them or even prevent them. Positive conflicts, after all, can enhance problem solving, clarify concerns, boost participants' involvement and commitment, and produce a better choice or result.
Fair competition requires the prevention of unlawful acts as well as acts that are contrary to honest practices. It commits behaving openly and fairly when competing for customers' business and when placing businesses with suppliers or offset partners. It prohibits activities that restrain competition, create monopolies, abuse market positions, or distort the marketplace.
Fair competition example. Price competition. Price competition occurs when firms in the market compete with each other on the basis of pricing. This often leads to lower prices for consumers and it's considered a form of a fair competition. There is the example of fair competition.
The advantage of fair competition. It offers low customer price in the fair competition. Since the companies have to compete with a lot, the companies try to offer a lot of discounts on the fake prices in the form of coupons so that they can attract more and more customers. Second is the customers have a variety of options to choose from since the fair competitions give equal opportunities to all. More and more companies are on the rise. This way, the customers get many options which they get to choose the one that suits them the most. And last, the quality of service is improved. This is one of the best things about a fair competition. The customers will get the best services offered by the companies because they don't want any of their customers to simply slip always from their hands. So now, let's proceed to the disadvantage of fair competition. First, too much stress. Next, work pressure affects health of the employee. Next, the employee may not be too sympathetic towards his or her employees. She may be interested only in the results. So next is team spirit may get affected as each employee will be suspicious of the other person's motivates. The last one is unhealthy competition, one employee bringing down another employee through malpractices in the order supersedes the persons.
Trade secret. A trade secret is any practice or process of a company that is generally not known outside of the company. Information considered a trade secret gives the company a competitive advantage over its competitors and is often a product in internal research and development. To be legally considered a trade secret in the United States, a company must make a reasonable effort in concealing the information from the public. The secret must intrinsically have economic value, and the trade secret must contain information. Trade secrets are a part of a company's intellectual property. Unlike a patent, a trade secret is not publicly known.
potential drawbacks associated with this form of asset management. As far as the positives go, trade secrets do not have registration costs and also go into effect immediately. So finally, trade secrets protection does not expire. It lasts indefinitely as long as the public does not know about the trade secret. Trade secrets may be a viable alternative as this type of intellectual property allows for the protection of many types of information that do not qualify as patentable subject matter. A trade secret can be comprised of almost any valuable non-public information, including a process, compilation, device, or technique. In short, if the information in question can be used to gain an economic advantage over one's competition because the competition doesn't know it probably qualifies as a trade secret. So the big drawback with the trade secrets used to be the danger of losing your right to your own invention. This was possible because anyone who invents an improved method of producing a product has two options: patent it or keep it secret. So in the past, if you choose to keep it secret and someone else independently invented the same improved method and patented it, so they were then legally entitled to prevent you using your own improved method. This naturally made people very cautious about choosing to keep an invention as a trade secret rather than patenting it.
A trade secret is an item of information, commonly a customer list, business plan, or manufacturing process, that has a commercial value and that is the firm possessing the information want to conceal from its competitors in order to prevent them from duplicating it. It is questionable described as property in recent Supreme Court decision that upheld a conviction for under the federal mail fraud statute has been interpreted to require that the fraud deprive the victim of something tangible, something like property but unlike the right of honest service. A trade secret is not a property in a usual sense, as in it bears the law of real and personal.